Today on the Ever Onward podcast, we have the next mayor of Garden City, Molly Lenty. Molly is a longtime friend. She has served on every board. I met her first 20 years ago when we were serving on the United Way board of the Treasure Valley. She is currently a candidate for mayor of the city of Garden City. We are enthusiastically supporting her and really excited to get her on the podcast today to talk about her vision for Garden City. Molly Lenty. Mayor.
Hi.
That sounds good. You can do this?
I'm doing it.
Molly Lenty, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You've been busy.
It's busy. You know, this time of year is always busy.
I've got your campaign hat on. I am the treasurer of your campaign.
Oh, you are. Thank you so much.
So we needed to get you on here because I'm excited for you.
Yeah, thank you.
This is gonna be fun.
It's an important time in Garden City.
When you told me you were going to do this, I thought it's such a natural progression for you.
Oh. Well, I appreciate that. You know, I think for those of us that are servant leaders, it's never been on my list to be mayor. Never been on the radar in that way. But I think, you know, when you see something that needs the type of leadership and experience and the things that I've been able to do through my career, it's time. It's time for Garden City, and I'm ready to step up.
I've known you for a long time. You're kind of a natural born leader. I mean, I think the first time I met with you is when we were on the United Way board with Nora.
Yeah.
How many years ago was that? That had to be
pushing 20.
20 years ago.
Yeah, probably.
But I remember, and I know this might, and I've never probably told you this, but I remember going to those first couple of meetings, and like it was a great group of people. Jeff Taylor was on there. Who was the guy that was the statesman guy? The Idaho statesman.
Mike Jung.
Mike Jung was on there. Great guy. I'm trying to think who else. It was a really good group of leaders. And I was, it's 20 years ago. And so I was pretty impressionable about who's what. But you stood out kind of even on that board as like the voice of, the community, and you've just been a tremendous leader. So where does that come from? Tell us a little bit about Molly.
I talk a lot about accidental leadership and how that's shown up for me throughout my career. It's being the person in the room when something needs to get done, and you kind of look around and you realize, wait a minute, I'm the only person raising my hand to help be a part of the solution. And so I've had a lot of those opportunities that have presented themselves to me, and I've been willing to a lot of times, jump in and just have faith that I'm going to figure out how to get it done. And also have faith that I know that there's going to be a lot of people that'll be helping along the way. I can remember back one of the first boards I was ever on, it was the Boys and Girls Club of Nampa. And it was during a time of tremendous financial turmoil at the Nampa School District, and they were canceling busing from the schools to the club. And it was, going to be catastrophic for kids that really depended upon that after-school program, but even more so that community that a Boys and Girls Club can provide. And so I showed up as a board member to a school district board meeting, and that was my first entree into having any visibility around school districts and school funding. I can fast forward. There's actually lots of funny stories as it pertains to that whole experience. But I found myself serving on the Financial Recommendation Committee, having to vote on actually closing a school that my kids went to. And that was a really, really tough decision, but it was a decision that made sense for the district. We had a brand new school just around the corner that, it made sense financially, but it also made sense where we're bringing people together in a new way. But that was a really hard decision. And I think when I think about leadership, it's showing up for those decisions when they need to be made with others in mind. And sure enough, everyone was just okay. Ended up then leading their bond and levy campaigns. And, I'd never done that before.
That's hard.
But I had people I could call and say, help me learn what I need to know. And they did. And we won both the bond and levy campaigns, which helped retain teachers' positions, helped retain and, bring back funding to the school district. I then chaired the superintendent search. You can see how that kind of goes, right?
Yeah.
Where you show up for something that you really care about, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in that seat of just needing to keep, moving the ball forward. And I think also being a servant leader is creating other leaders around you, so you can pass the baton too.
Were you attracted to stuff like this growing up? Was it always something you did as a child and as a teenager?
I kind of joke, but this is true. In junior high, I was in an organization called Future Problem Solvers of America.
I remember that.
And, I couldn't tell you any of the direct projects that we worked on as part of the competition, but I think it's always been a part of the fabric of who I am. I truly believe, and I've said this a lot during this campaign period, you're either going to be a part of the solution or you're going to be a part of the problem. There is no in between.
Yeah, that's really well put. Have you always been confident in your abilities? If you on the spectrum of confidence or insecurity, where do you lie?
That's a good question. I think, innate as humans, we always have that lingering insecurity that creeps up. And I think for me, it's been the ability to just push that back into the corner and say, you know what, I'm not doing anything that I've been involved in. It's not been for my own ego. It's been for something greater than me. I just happen to be the vessel or the vehicle to help move that forward. And that helps me to not think about all of those little things that keep you up at night.
Yeah. It's also, I think, pretty healthy. It's interesting. Just this morning, I get up and listen to a podcast when I work out, and I do my cold plunge every morning. But this morning, I was listening to Lionel Richie, who was on a podcast, and I didn't expect to hear what I heard, but he was talking. I listened to most of it this morning. It's always about forward. It's always about. It's never about like ever stopping, and it's just like how do I be part of a solution? And he said that his dad said if leadership is defined in those moments where you either take a step forward or a step back. Yeah. And if you think about most of the times in our life, it's, am I going to take a step forward or a step back? And I think I'm around people, and I would describe you as one of those, that it's always a step forward. It's always, hey, let's go do this. Let's go figure this out. Let's go take that step forward. Even if the path might be a little unknown.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And, when you first said Lionel Richie, I was thinking it was going to be a reference of Dancing on the Ceiling. But, taking that step forward is definitely, part of being a part of a solution.
Yeah.
The world is moving so fast.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity at one of our College of Western Idaho events where we had a futurist come and speak to us. And he shared that in this very moment, the world will never be working at this same pace as today. It's constantly going to be moving faster and faster. And I think that really, helps illustrate why we can't be stagnant. People don't want change. Something about the way that we're wired, most people don't want change. But what they don't realize is the only constant in this world is change. Yeah. And so we can either embrace that. I think, especially as it pertains to Garden City, we know change is happening so rapidly. It's happening around us. We're 4 square miles. We're the only landlocked city in the valley. Change is absolutely happening around us, but it's happening within us as well. And I think there's those moments that you really have to pause and understand, what are the high impact, vital few things that we really need to hold dear in each of our unique communities across the footprint of Garden City, so that as change happens, it doesn't disrupt those things that are the most valued. We can retain a lot of those. We can preserve those things while also embracing the change that's coming at us.
It's awesome. Let's go to Garden City, this mayor run.
Yeah.
So a couple things before we get there. So business leader, you've had lots of successes in business. You've always been part of boards. You have been an elected official because you're a trustee at the College of Western Idaho. I think you've been 2 terms there.
Elected twice to the board and then 2 terms as board chair.
Yeah, 2 terms as board chair. So you've experienced elections, you've experienced public service and service, that servant's heart.
Yeah.
And then and now this will be something new, running for the mayor of Garden City. When you told me, I'm just like, let's go. This makes all the sense in the world. Let's talk a little bit about Garden City. So 4 square miles.
Yep.
I lived right on the border of Garden City for 20 plus years, and my church went down into our boundary, went down into Garden City. Wonderful, wonderful people. Like some of the greatest people I've known on the planet Earth live there in Garden City, and good friends of mine to this day. Then the second thing I'll tell you is because of where I lived and because I worked at St. Luke's forever, I drove down. That's my route, right? Mm-hmm. So I think most people know Garden City because they drive through it.
Right.
But if you look at the borders of Garden City and the river frontage and the industry and the exposure to traffic, and just because of the way traffic patterns flow,
right,
its potential has always been through the roof.
Absolutely.
I mean, it just has been because it's got all the elements. It's got the river. It's got traffic that's not going to bypass it. It's got industry, and it's got great people. So, talk about your connection and kind of where it is and what you see for the future.
I think all of the things that you just said, Tommy, plus looking at right now, it's such a poignant moment for Garden City. We've got some really exciting things that are coming up. First ever professional sports team. In Idaho. We've got the soccer club that's going to be kicking off with their first match in March. We've got the sports park at Expo, Idaho. There is going to be even more of an influx of people that are traveling to Garden City. A lot of people traverse through, but they're traveling to. And when I think about very similarly over in Caldwell, when former President Henberg brought back football to the College of Idaho, how that infused so much energy and visibility and helped really spur what we see now as Indian Creek and the development that's grown there. Really helped create the pathway for Caldwell to being a destination city.
Well, and you had a little guy named Garrett Nancolis who was the mayor for 24 years, and that guy's a legend, visionary, took the arrows to say, no, we're going to do this, right? So you had things aligning with some leadership, right, that really transformed things. So I think that's a great analogy. I hadn't thought about that, but you think about what happened there, and now you go, if you went to down, we did that theater in downtown Caldwell, and when we did that, there was not anything much around. I mean, they had put in the river. But we go down there now. In fact, it's coming up. We go there every holiday and go out there a lot. We still do a lot of business out in Caldwell, and it is incredible. What's happened.
And their ability to leverage a lot of the different resources that are available to a city, urban renewal being one of those. I think that's going to be critically important. I think there's also an opportunity to pursue whether an opportunity zone makes sense in Garden City. We know that there's a lot that's going to be changing there at the fairgrounds with Ada County. I've been meeting with county commissioners, just to build that rapport, kind of build that ideation around what could it look like if Garden City and Ada County were to work together to create something really cool.
I mean, you've got the baseball stadium.
Right.
You've got the soccer stadium now. You've got land. You've got parks. You've got the river. And you got a very, very, even with people coming and going from it, if you just took like the 3 to 5 mile demographics, you have tons of rooftops already. And you kind of have, there's history here because there's projects that I've successfully been able to figure out, and there's ones that I haven't. We spent a significant part of our lives trying to redevelop this site. Like we've got plans on top of It reminds me of the site we're sitting on today because we're sitting here recording this at where Top Golf is.
Right.
I made 3 different runs of this over 18 years before we finally got it. And if you look back at the plans that we've had and what will finally end up happening, but we as a developer, there is tremendous opportunity if done right.
Right.
To develop a entertainment district that could really rival anything else in the state if done right, down at Glenwood and
Correct.
and Chinden.
Yep.
And it could be incredible. And I think with what the county's doing, and I've spent a lot of time with a couple of their commissioners talking about this, but I'm really proud of the leadership they've been able to do to tackle that park and put it in, what they did to do the stadium, put it in. I mean, those are two big foot forward. But if it was in conjunction with Garden City and some leadership,
Right.
watch out.
They, in my conversations with the commissioners, they're very growth mindset
Yeah.
in, not one set agenda of what they want that space to look like, but really open to what it
Yeah.
can be. And that's where I think it's a really critical moment in time. From a collaboration standpoint, there's a private group that's also done a feasibility study around a pedestrian bridge over Chinden at Glenwood and
wow.
how that could move people in that direction, especially in preparation for what we already know is coming. We've got to find a way to move people north-south over Chinden. It's going to have to be a creative type of a strategy, and it's impressive, but it's going to take leadership.
Yeah.
And then if you go even east of there, and if you've been, down by the river, where all of the really exciting, by the Whitewater Park
Yeah.
and a lot of the development that's happened along the river right there. But we still have a lot of, aging pockets,
Potential.
a lot of potential. But I think also, and this really goes back to a lot of the work that we've done, and, for 25 years, I was the Vice President of Government and Community Relations over 5 states at Wells Fargo. So I did a lot of work helping to understand how communities can really thrive and some of the pitfalls that, with growth, you kind of, there's unintended impacts that have to be solved for as well. And when I think about the potential for the risk of gentrification, especially on the East End, and there are people that have lived in Garden City for generations that, they want to be a part of Garden City, but that's where we've got to work with our local residential developers and builders to identify ways that we can create mixed income housing and, other really creative solutions. There's a lot of programs that are out there that the city can tap into that we really haven't yet. Things that I think would help promote and provide incentives for residential developers to think of really creative ways that they continue to build out those areas of Garden City and especially some of the pocket communities that can be created.
I love that. And I think, sometimes you think about development because we're doing the big CWI project just
Right.
down the river. You think about the Greenbelt. You think about the river. And sometimes maybe it's too philosophical for me, but I think about, this, we think of development of what's happened since the 70s a lot of times. But in reality, this land, that river, this high desert plain next to these mountains was here long before it was settled and taken away from the people that used to live here.
Right.
And what it is and what it'll become and what it'll be for the next 100 years, when you start thinking in longer context, it's really important work because it's people's lives, it's their livelihood, and it's how are you going to be a steward of this piece of land as it develops and grows. And I like thinking about that sometimes. That's why even the CWI project, like this thing that's going to put here and embrace this river that's been here for, hundreds of thousands, millions of years that we're now putting something by.
Right.
This is like now our chance to honor that and make this thing work. And the fact that Garden City has that river from kind of stem to stern
Right.
through the whole thing, what a blessing. And it gives you the opportunity to say, okay, what can it be? What has it been? What can it be now? What is its potential in the future? What are the tools and ways the city can help shape that future? That's big stuff.
I think it's both an opportunity as well as a responsibility
Oh, yeah.
of our leadership, to be thinking for Garden City in a way that's broader than just the constraints of our city boundaries. It's got to be working with the other city leaders and, in Boise and Eagle and all the surrounding communities. It's going to require interagency partnership. Greenbelt, one of the greatest assets that Garden City has, and I absolutely love our Greenbelt. But there's pain points that are known.
I got
Safety.
roped into a pain point recently. So I don't know how I get roped into this. I just got a call and they're like, "Hey," it was Judy Peavy Durr who called me, and she's like, "Hey, we got a problem with Greenbelt, and you're going to help me fix it." And I said, "Hey, Judy, like I'd love to help you, but why are you calling me?" Anyway, there's a part where it comes down just before it gets to where the new ballpark in the park will be.
Okay.
And there was a bridge. They had a $2 million grant to put the bridge from one side over to an island to
Yes.
kind of bypass this whole thing. Well, the grant was well intended, but the bid for the bridge was like $6 million. So she's like, "You're going to help me figure out a way to get around this." And so I said, "Okay, I'll try." Well, I called some of the property owners that I knew
Yeah.
to see if I could help. And when they told me, "Hey, buddy, take a hike," right? Anyway, I think the county is going to step up. But your point is there's still work to be done on connectivity and making that what it can be for families that I mean, what a treasure we have.
Right. Yeah. And I've met with that group too, so very well versed in that project and, and our focus on active transportation as well. Right now we utilize the Greenbelt for commuting.
Yeah.
We really need to create more of an active transportation corridor, whether that's down Adams Street, whether it somehow incorporates, closer to Chinden. We just need to find additional avenues. I've ridden my bike to work, and my office is downtown at 13th and Bannock, and I've ridden my bike a few times, and it's great until you hit Whitewater, and then you got to find your way over to downtown. So I know that there's still some work to be done on both sides of the river. But there are people that absolutely love the ability to bike to work.
Yeah.
And I think we can really embrace that as well. You talked about the Whitewater Project. And I think one of the things that helped us as an elected board, where we've got to represent, our responsibility is to represent our taxpayers and our stakeholders, we needed to have the information that could really help us understand how to build that North Star around what was needed most for the college. And, one of the things that I did as chair of the board was to commission a visioning process. And that helped the board through that process to be able to make the subsequent decisions that came ahead of us, including as we went through the RFP process for the design build. And, it was so important to us as a committee, and I chaired that committee, so important to us that we partnered with an entity that understood not just a plug and play of what could be in that, that footprint, but really an understanding of the responsibility to ensure that we were creating an environment that provided that connectivity with the infrastructure that was already there.
Yeah.
The original intent, how do we ensure that we complement instead of disrupt how the Greenbelt in that area is being used and how it can be used. And, through that process, that's where we get to work together on the Whitewater Project. And I think it's going to be such an important part of our community from a business community perspective, as well as broader community, and for our students and learning in the corridor to downtown. I mean, I could go on and on about how proud I am of that project and what we're building for the community in a variety of ways. I think that same type of a visioning process needs to take place in Garden City.
I love that.
We need to understand what are those things that we need to preserve, but we also need to be looking a lot more broadly than just a plug and play within a footprint, especially as I think about the East End and south of Chinden. There are things that we can be doing as leaders to ensure that we complement broader needs of the city in the ways that we partner with our developers. So, for example, public safety being one of those. And we know that one of the greatest assets to a community is public parks, not only from a recreation standpoint, but also a safety standpoint. It prevents, in a lot of ways, pockets of violent and sexual offenders from living near a park. Neighborhoods need parks. for so many different reasons. So when I think about on the East End, it's going to be not just creating mixed income housing in a thoughtful way, but it's also going to be encouraging and finding solutions for pocket parks. And as I've met with residential developers that are over in that area, they're all for it.
Yeah.
They're for coming up with those creative solutions.
Yeah, everyone's interests should align, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's got to be, more than just some of the zoning codes. And Tommy, I have found myself, I'm like, who am I right now? I have downloaded an audiobook on zoning codes. That's what I'm listening to daily. You talked about your podcast you're listening to while you're working out.
Hey, let me give you some advice, unsolicited advice. The Hippocratic Oath in medicine, first do no harm. Mm-hmm. I think cities sometimes, they're so well intended. I'm never going to question their intentions.
Yeah.
But first do no harm, man, because they can mess stuff up quicker than it's an interesting thing. And the zoning codes, they can get complicated because you have these comprehensive plans that are done 10, 20, sometimes 30 years before.
Exactly.
You have an underlying zoning code and plan. Then you have the current code that goes on top of it. And sometimes it takes literally attorneys to figure out, hey, we can put a parking lot here. We can't put it here. We can face this here. And it just gets, and I think despite intentions that may be good, it just, sometimes these things it's getting harder.
Yep.
I think layers and layers of stuff on top of it, but you'll do great because you understand business.
True. And I understand how to identify, okay, these are our constraints. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
What are the things we can do?
Yeah.
And bring people to the table around those big ideas.
Hey, how's campaigning been?
Oh, it's a slog. This is my third campaign. You talked about the, confidence and self-doubt. And I think somebody would have to be lying if they campaigned without some level of, am I doing this right? Am I spending my time the best way? Am I working with my campaign team to ensure that we're maximizing dollars?
Yeah.
It's a great responsibility to those that support you, but also to the mission in mind.
It's so hard.
It's hard.
So hard. And you feel what you just described. I, done it once and lost, took third.
Yeah.
But you feel such an obligation. It's different than because you have people that support you and they're giving you their money and they're giving you their time. They're volunteering for you. And they're making calls, and the connection with those people, and you don't want to let them down.
Yep.
I remember when I was getting some advice from Mitt Romney before I ran, and he said a couple things. He's like, "Hey, never be surprised who disappoints you once you announce to run." That was one, and then two, he's like, you won't understand the feeling of losing until you lose, because it's not like any other it's not like any other thing you've done in your life, because that responsibility is so real. And then you're like, I cannot let these people down. I want to win, but I can't let these people down. So the pressure's good. It's also hard. You're listening to consultants and your gut's telling you one thing, they're telling you another thing.
Yeah.
I wish that was the hardest part for me.
Well, and that's because you're a servant leader too. You're doing it on behalf of what you know is right and for other people. And we wear that on our shoulders really heavy.
Some of the hardest conversations I ever had was, hey, this is what we need you to do. And I'm like, well, that's not what I'm feeling out knocking doors. That's not what I'm hearing. And they're like, we don't care. and you're like, well, so you learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself. I'll tell you, that feeling of waking up every morning and just like, here we go again, here we go again, here we go again. It's good for you. Make you tough.
Yeah, I definitely have thicker skin this go round. I'll tell you that. I think you've got to.
Has this been different from the?
Very different.
Yeah, because you had the CWI board is still a process, but this is probably a little more emotional, and you're taking on kind of an establishment, I'm sure. That's why I love you doing this. I mean, I think in government, here's my criteria: we need really, really good people that are smart and have servants' hearts. You got that in spades. Secondly, it really helps to have free market people that understand business that go into government, because I think they act differently. I think when you really understand what it takes to make things happen, and then are you a person that steps forward and leads? You got all that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll tell you, as I'm door knocking, that's been one of the best things. When I have run my last two campaigns, it's across two counties, Ada
Yeah.
and Canyon County. It's a very different way of campaigning, and I have absolutely loved every opportunity to have conversations with residents in Garden City. I think that's been one of the best parts of the campaign. And there are wonderful people. I would say 99.9% of the time outdoor knocking. People are so gracious, so thankful that a candidate
Yeah.
takes time to actually, be out there and have those conversations. And I've done something maybe some people might think is a little bit crazy, but I've handwritten my phone number on each of the palm cards I leave.
Oh, wow.
And I say,
Are you getting calls?
yeah. And I've said, if you have questions that you think of later, because a lot of times they're on the spot and they're, thinking, oh, I wasn't expecting to be asked about, what are my biggest priorities in Garden City. And I said, if you've got questions later, or as you're talking to any neighbors, if they have questions, feel free to give me a call, share my contact information. I welcome any and all conversations. And I've had some really engaging, thoughtful conversations with people that have reached out after the fact, or that I have left my palm card with a little note, hey, would love to connect. Here's my phone number. And that's been great. Our mayor now has been in office for nearly 20 years in Garden City. So for a lot of people, I've heard two things. People have said, we have a mayor in Garden City? People don't realize that, right? Yes, we have a full municipal government and offices and people that work really, really hard on behalf of the city. But people are also, surprised that that the mayor is retiring, and he's done a great job in a number of so many different ways. We are one of the, if not the most well-run city from a fiscal standpoint. That's something that's going to be really, really important to continue on. But I think I've got a very different leadership style than a lot of people have, and I'm somebody that it's okay. What do we need to get done, and when do we need to get it done? But it's also a lot more broad thinking around what are the things we haven't thought of, or what are the unintended consequences of this potential decision. And the way that I lead a board, and the way that I would help lead council, is to ensure that we're really leveraging the leadership from across the council, and that they've got input on the agendas, and they've got input on city initiatives. And let's really lead out on having a growth mindset, and the ways that we will be engaging with our residents, and the ways that we will be engaging with our businesses in a very different way than I think Garden City has experienced before. So I'm really excited about that, and people are very receptive to the idea of deeper engagement and bringing forums to their local neighborhoods.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you're on an off-cycle election. What do they think the voting universe? What's the turnout going to be?
Off-cycle elections are always really difficult. We've looked at data from the past two off-cycle elections, which for me, I'm typically on a gubernatorial ballot, the last two that I've been on. So it's a very different voter demographic altogether. I've last campaign was able to earn over 85,000 votes. In Garden City, I need to earn at least 4,000 votes. It's a very different, very targeted, as many conversations as I can have with people.
That's awesome.
Is beneficial.
And that's work ethic, and that's just getting out. Isn't it nice that we live in a community where you've got people that are just, hey, I'm here. Here's my cell phone number. Call me. I'll tell you what I think. Get to know me. That's awesome.
Yeah. In Garden City, it's so special. I've lived there before. I moved back a couple years ago. Just absolutely love the city. Love so many of our different areas that are East End is different. Our East Enders have named themselves the East End. Where I live, I'm over on the West End. We don't even call ourselves the West End. Mm-hmm. Then you've got south of Chinden. I've heard Sochi being something that's thrown out lately. And then you've got north of the river, which is largely River Club and Plantation neighborhood, and along the neighborhood, Riverside Village. There's a little bit of that north as well. And we don't really have an adopted or shared nomenclature for who we are collectively as a city, or even within each of the neighborhood pockets. And I think there's a huge opportunity for that as we really look at who we are and who we want to become. It's such a special place over on the West End. And my husband's family has been on that property for over 50 years. And so definitely deep roots over there. We can walk to the Greenbelt in a minute and a half. I can drive to downtown Boise in 13 minutes. I'm over in Eagle in 6 minutes. We're right in the middle of so much happening here in the Valley.
Yeah, you talk about like infill, whatever you do there, it's the perfect use of resources, perfect use of existing transportation lines.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just like the sky's the limit. And as everything encloses around, and I mean, Garden City there's a ton of potential.
Yep.
And then there's probably the care of saying, how do we grow right? And how do we take care of the people that have been here for a long time and all that? So that's what I love about what you're doing. So for people listening out there, it's 4,000 votes.
Yep.
If you know anyone in Garden City, you better tell them to vote for Molly Lenty.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And so you've got, what's today? You got a month left.
I do.
This is crunch time.
The clock is ticking. Yeah, I'm out there just about every night. If I don't have an event that I'm attending, I'm out knocking doors. I'm out there on Saturday. We have a really fun little golf cart that we put together that's got, American flag. It had already been in the family and added my campaign signage to it. So if you see me out in a neighborhood,
stop you.
It's not, we can't, we've got to trailer it into a neighborhood, but it's been great as I've been going door to door.
Let's get all the information out. So your website is?
mollylenty.com.
Wow. Was available?
I've had it a little while.
That's awesome. mollylenty.com. Molly for Mayor. Probably places you can go volunteer.
Absolutely.
Right on your website. I know there's a place to go donate if you want to donate. I really look forward to you winning this thing.
Thank you.
I can just picture, sometimes when you think about vision and what's going to happen, but I just can picture you interacting with the other mayors, really pulling Garden City into that conversation and watching what you do over time. It's easy to help you. It's easy to serve as your treasurer. It's easy to tell everyone I know, hey, go vote for Molly because I know your heart.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I mean, I've known you a long time in a lot of different capacities in community leadership and service. And I think what we talk about all the time, it's easy to talk about, hey, we need really good people to serve in government, right? We say that all the time.
Right.
But then when you have someone that is that really good people, like it's the shining example of that person that has spent her entire life serving in multiple capacities with every nonprofit you can think of in the Valley and loves this place, saying, okay, I'm ready to go do more significant civic service as the mayor of Garden City. Nothing's been an easier thing for me than saying, let's go win this thing. So for anyone listening out there that doesn't know Molly, go to her website. I'm sure you've got events coming up, ways they can meet you. And if you know anyone in Garden City, tell them to get out and vote, right?
I appreciate that. Absolutely. There is so much to look forward to in Garden City, and I can't wait to be there running alongside and other leaders that are so passionate about the city and the community that is being built.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.